Most people think they understand how dictators stay in power. But in 1964, Haiti, François Papadoc Duvalier did something so ruthless, it changed how repression worked in the Caribbean forever. After 13 young men landed with plans to overthrow him, the regime didn't just hunt them down. They hunted down their families. In Jérémie, 27 relatives were arrested and executed one by one, from an 85-year-old grandmother to a 2-year-old girl. Today, we're diving into what became known as the Jeremie Vespers, why it was called that, how it unfolded over months, and how it ended with 2 captured rebels shot publicly to send a message. But what's even more disturbing is this. The massacre wasn't just punishment, it was strategy. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how Duvalier used family bloodlines to silence an entire nation. This is Haitianism. Let's take a closer look. The massacre of the Jeremie Vespers is a killing ordered by the dictator François Duvalier and carried out beginning on August 5th, 1964, in the Haitian city of Jérémie against sympathizers and militants of the group Jeunes Haïti. It follows the massacre of the peasants of Tiote, committed only weeks earlier. The word Vespers refers to the Sunday country outings organized by families for picnics in the countryside. These gatherings are often formed along racial and class lines, composed exclusively of white and mulatto families, provoking resentment among the black majority. After the June 27, 1964 infiltration in the southeast by an anti-Duvalier guerrilla force, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Haiti, based in the Dominican Republic and led by Fred Baptiste and Gérard Lafontaine, the Tontons Macoutes and the Haitian Army launch a wide repression. In Mapu, Tiote, Grand Gosier, and Belance, approximately 600 men, women, and children are executed. One of these killings enters popular memory as the Massacre of the Peasants of Tiote. On August 5, 1964, 13 members of Jeunes Haïti, Max Armand, Jacques Armand, Gérald-Marie Brière, Miko Chandler, Louis Drouin, Charles Forbin, Jean Gerde, Réginald Jourdan, Yvon Larac, Marcel Nouma, Roland Rigaud, Gus Léville-Drouin, and Jacques Wedstrand land near Jérémie with the objective of sparking a revolt against the dictatorship. Among them are 12 mulattoes and 1 black man. In response, François Duvalier, acting within his Noiriste policy, orders reprisals against the mulatto families of the city. Decades of accumulated resentment are mobilized as justification for the orders delivered by Williams Regalat to military agents and the Tontons Macoutes. 27 people from 2 families, Drouin and Sansaric, relatives of Jeunes Haïti members, are killed in Jérémie. The 13 members of Jeunes Haïti are hunted down, killed in combat, or captured and publicly executed before the cemetery in Port-au-Prince. Through August, September, and October, hundreds of mulatto women, elderly men, and children are tortured and killed. Williams Regalat is later promoted in 1986 after the departure of Jean-Claude Duvalier and becomes a member of the ruling junta under General Henri Namphy. A former schoolboy from Jérémie, who was only 11 at the time, gives a chilling account of what happened. I was in my final year of primary school in Jérémie, a city in the southwestern part of Haiti, when I heard a hammering on the roof that changed the face of the town. The events that followed marked the rule of François Duvalier in blood. Nearly the entire elite of the city was destroyed in a single sweep. Jérémie stood like a body stripped of its vital force. The sound came from across the town square, where crowds were tearing metal sheets and anything that could be removed from the largest store in the city, Chez Desquirons, owned by Pierre Sanseric. The square lay between the Brothers of Christian Instruction primary school I attended and the street where Sanseric's store stood, located on the third row beside St. Louis Church. Not far away, the shop of Gérard Guilbeault was also sacked. A few steps from the church, the open-air market where families bought their daily provisions was overtaken by the surge. Across from the market, the Sanseric residence was located and forced open for public looting. The house is later turned into the headquarters of the VSN, the official name of the Tontons Macouts. It is unclear whether it happened that same day, but the homes and businesses of Gérard Guilbeault, Victor Villedrouin, and Louis Drouin are all delivered to public plunder. Once the looting begins, the religious brothers dismiss us from school without delay. My mother works in a pharmacy across the square, 100 meters from the FIC school. I cross the square and walk toward her workplace as hundreds of people move in and out of Chez Desquirons in a frenzy, their arms filled with goods. My mother pulls me inside. The crowd strips the stores and the houses of everything, including doors and windows. Many of them struggled to carry the loot. They moved into neighboring houses to hide the stolen goods, then returned later to retrieve them. Schools remained closed for the rest of the afternoon and for weeks afterward. Later that day, a gendarme in full uniform gathered people at street corners, sounded a rallying march on his trumpet, and read the police communiqué announcing a general curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. There was no other way for the authorities to communicate with the restless population. It was never clear to me how long the schools would remain shut. I was 11 years old when it happened. In 1964 in Jérémie, at 11, you were not allowed to take part in adult conversations once you had finished greeting their visitors. I missed much of the reasoning behind the killings, and perhaps many important facts. What remained clear was that François Duvalier, directly or indirectly, was eliminating mulattoes as part of the racial reprisal of his Noiriste revolution. Some details may not be exactly as I recount them. What did not change was that these people were killed under the Duvalier regime, by direct or indirect orders, and their property was first seized by the authorities who carried out the massacre, and then by the masses of the city. At the time, the true authorities in Jérémie were First Lieutenant Abel Jérôme for the Armed Forces and Police, and Sanette Balmire for the Tontons Macoute. The killings were so brutal that even the accounts were difficult to grasp. After arresting Pierre Sanseric and deciding his fate, they entered his house at night and executed everything that moved. They killed his wife's sister, Edith, his son Pierre Jr., Pierre Jr.'s wife, Graciela, Pierre Jr.'s baby, another son whose name I no longer remember, his teenage son Reynold, a minor daughter, and even the maids who lived in the house. Many people said the household dogs were not spared. Some of the men who carried out the murders later boasted that they killed the baby by piercing it with a bayonet, saying, "Li tordier tant couvé." He twisted like a worm. It became one of François Duvalier's signature massacres to secure power. Once one member of a family opposed him, the entire family was marked for death to eliminate future threats. I did not witness the killings myself. These were the stories the adults repeated in hushed voices while we listened from a distance. Duvalier's men also killed Gérard Guilbeault and his wife, whose maiden name was Drouin, and who was reportedly pregnant at the time. They went to Victor Villedrouin in Bordeaux, took him away, and killed him along with his wife and children, including his well-known teenage son, Franz Villedrouin. They arrested and killed Louis Drouin. The common denominator in these massacres was that those executed were light-skinned mulattoes. The killings terrorized all light-skinned mulatto families in Jérémie, who waited each night fearing that their turn would come. In the case of Pierre Sansaric, his arrest followed repeated attempts by him and his sons to demand payment from the military authorities for gasoline the police had taken for weeks without paying. During that same period, my mother was in charge of the Pharmacie Centrale, located across from the house occupied by the survivors of Lucien Prat, who had died of natural causes 1 or 2 years before 1964. His survivors were his wife, who was also a Sansaric, his mother-in-law, Mrs. Tom Sansaric, her 4 children, Colette, Marie-Hélène, Primrose, and Reynold, and an adopted child, Nicole. Graciela Sansaric, killed in the massacre inside Pierre Sansaric's house, was Mrs. Tom's daughter and therefore the children's aunt. I used to play with the children, especially Reynold Prat, who was about 2 years younger than me and my friend. After the disappearance of the Sansarics, terror and grief filled their home. At the time of the looting, there was still hope that some of the missing or arrested might be alive. Access to the children became difficult, and Mrs. Tom was always crying. She remained on the 3rd floor of the house and never came down. A few weeks after October 11th, 1964, the children called me and asked me to play with them on a Saturday afternoon. We formed a circle, held hands, and began to move together while singing. Before we part, we must laugh and have fun. Let us see. Who in the dance is the most beautiful? Greet them. Which person do you love? The next time I went to the pharmacy to see my mother, she told me that the entire family had secretly left town the day after our circle game. I quickly understood that the last verse had been their way of saying goodbye, without placing their lives in further danger. I never saw them again. After the Prats departed, most of the mulatto families in Jérémie who had not been killed left the city. The town began its descent. Once they completed secondary school, the brightest young people it produced sought careers elsewhere. To this day, there has never been another store like Chez Desquirons in Jérémie. Hardware that was once available there now has to be ordered from Port-au-Prince and shipped by the weekly ferry. The movie theaters were reduced to 1, Cine Fox. Power outages became frequent due to fuel shortages. The benches in the public square fell into disrepair, the trees went untrimmed, and the open-air market spread and took over the space. The 28-passenger plane that had connected Port-au-Prince, Les Cays, and Jérémie every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday stopped coming due to lack of business and related reasons. Everyone in Jérémie lived in fear. Many young adults concluded that it was safer to join the Tonton Macoutes than risk being labeled anti-Duvalier. That label functioned as a death sentence that could be pronounced at any time. But who were the members of Jeune Haiti, whose failed guerrilla adventure have triggered such a horrifying bloodletting in the city of Jérémie? In the next video, we will take you into the world of those 13 anti-Duvalier revolutionaries, their connection with the CIA, their last stand in Haiti, and their ultimate demise.